We've known who the killer was of these girls for a long time. We just simply didn't know his name. This jury found his name and found him guilty.
Coley McCraney sentenced today to life behind bars. The murder of two Dothan teenagers finally solved after more than 2 decades. Good evening, I'm Mark Bullock.
And I'm Valerie Lawson. Tonight, the families of J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hallett finally have justice.
The two girls were found shot to death in the trunk of their car in Ozark back in 1999, and for years the case went unsolved until DNA evidence from the crime scene was finally linked to a suspect. That DNA played a significant role in McCraney's trial. Joining us live with more on today's sentencing hearing, WSFA 12 News anchor Sally Pitts. Sally, you've been covering the trial since it started. I imagine for these two families, this has to have brought about some feeling of relief tonight.
Yeah, this has been a long 24 years and an emotional 2 weeks during this trial for the families. They chose not to speak today. Instead, they let Attorney General Steve Marshall be their voice. And as he spoke, we saw a lot of tears, but we also saw a few smiles for the first time in a long time. After more than 2 decades, they finally have some closure.
With J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hallett's families by his side, Attorney General Steve Marshall said the jury in this case got it right.
This case has shown conclusively who committed this offense, who should be held accountable.
After nearly 24 years, the jury found Coley McCraney is the person who murdered J.B. and Tracy in 1999. While the case remained cold for decades, evidence found at the crime scene is what ultimately closed this case.
It is the DNA evidence that was collected at the scene on day 1 that was a deciding factor in the guilt of this defendant.
The jury convicted McCraney on 4 counts of capital murder.
Validation for everybody involved. I mean, I think there were tears for all of us that were involved in this case.
There were also tears among McCraney's family, who said he was a kind, godly man.
When Coley McCraney got the verdict, he looks at us and said, "I'm sorry I let you guys down." So that's the kind of person we were representing.
One of the very first times we met Coley, he told us how as a father, his heart hurt for those girls' families.
While his attorneys maintain McCraney's innocence, the Attorney General told the jury he is a monster and got 20 years of freedom and life that J.B. and Tracy did not have.
I appreciate words from the defense saying they're sorry about the loss of their life. But let's don't forget who committed this crime and took those girls away from it. They'd be 41 years old now. Can you imagine what they would have been able to do with their lives over the last 24 years?
McCraney's attorneys do plan to file a motion for a new trial. They say they are also investigating possible juror misconduct. They say a juror may have been on social media during testimony. Mark?
All right, Sally, thank you. The judge will formally sentence McCraney at a later date.